Hello, welcome to InFocus with Modena, our webinar series. Um, Today we're going to be talking about BIM as a data engine. My name is Erica, and we're going to take you through a few of these things. So first we're going to talk about the webinar is being recorded. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A panel. And please interact with us throughout. We're going to have QR codes at the end, so we can also do questions and answers then. You can go through. America, I'm a design technology specialist here at Modena, and
Hi everyone, I'm Atkang Ali Mulefe, Design Technology Specialist, specializing in BIM code with Modena AEC and infrastructure. I would like to apologize for Brooke. She couldn't attend today, but we have it handled.
so today I'm going to be talking about the state of data in BIM today, what kind of data you will find in your BIM models and where you can find the information related to that and what you can do with it.
And then I'm going to be going into the industry shift, the evolution of BIM and data, our traditional workflows, and what's coming up next for BIM projects.
Okay, so BIM data and coordination. What is it and what does it look like? Data is the core reason we use BIM. It's in the name, building information management and modeling. I was reminded this week that modeling doesn't just mean 3D models. We've kind of coveted the name. Modeling also includes financial models, data models, people models, and we can use all of that information in a CDE, so a common data environment, to be able to manage all of our information. So BIM modeling, as we know, differs from design modeling in a few key ways. When we model objects using whichever program, that model will contain some kind of information that is useful to the project. So this can include its shape, direction, thickness, or material. And we spend a great deal of time getting those attributes right and looking like we want them to for our designs. But it's important to remember that these models don't exist as entities on their own. They are symbols and representations of physical things that are often yet to be built. In order to go from symbols, pictures, models, and models to the real thing, there is quite a bit of information we need to know about it. So drawings are the traditional medium that inform how these symbols are created on site and what their relationship is to other structures and disciplines. However, with BIM, there may be a time in the near future where we won't need drawings or separate drawings to denote these relationships, because all of that extra information can be stored easily in the model and accessed. So a BIM model can contain 5 types of information. Number 1, we have geometric information. This is your dimensions of an object, if a wall versus a half wall kind of thing. Number 2, we have non-geometric information. So this is not related to the dimensions, but still related to the object. So that's material components, performance information, maintenance information that can be attached to it. Number 3 is time-based information. So those are your construction schedules and your project timelines that are also related to your project model. Number 4 is metadata, which is related to the project model itself. This is authorship and ownership information, it's version control, and it's project information. And then number 5 is split into 2 types. There's 4D and 5D data. So some people argue it goes up to 7D data, but 4D and 5D are the most relevant to buildings today. So 4D is time-related data, which is the progression of your model and your objects, which you can visualize within software. And 5D data is cost. So that can also be included in your models. And we can look at budget, we can look at estimates, and we can look at labor related to every object in your model. So all of this helps improve coordination, and there's one source of truth for projects and the physical objects related to all of those projects.
Yeah.
So efficiency and accuracy can be increased by having the required information as soon as possible and having the models as accurate as possible, saving time on rework and site-based coordination. As we know, problems in digital are much easier to solve than problems on site.
They are.
Working this way also increases sustainability in a traditional sense because the reduction of byproducts in the design process contributes, and because you can do much more in-depth analysis in terms of energy and building performance over time. So you can analyze the ecological implications, all if you know where to look. In data coordination, we need to learn to extract the relevant data at different stages of the project, while remaining clear on what information is required at the end. There is a difference between a working model and a handover model. So working models will contain many data properties and proprietary data, and that's stored within the modeling software itself and make modeling possible. This is the data used to inform and set the design, the logic for models to perform as they need to together. So like how chairs sit on floors and windows are in walls, that kind of information is held in your software. And there are also add-ins that allow us to check and break apart model properties so that we can do quality assurance as part of coordination. So that's where we do our model health check data, and it's where we do coordination data. So design focused modeling happens in the working model, and the information pulled from that model will form the beginning of your BIM model. This is where you marry the design imagery and those rooms full of construction documents and files together. In your handover model, that'll become your client's snazzy digital twin. You will provide a seamless, visually rich, and easy to understand data model. So these are often an open model format so that so the client can use them in the next step, whatever they need to do. So the first question you will ask is, how far do we need to go? Are you working towards issued for construction, or are you working towards a digital twin? Detailing these goals in BIM standard documentation, like an EIR, which is the Exchange of Information Requirements document, is a big success factor in projects. Consultants' workflows and their accuracy will be defined from then, and we can keep track of it throughout if we know what we're actually looking for. So the full BEP will break down what is expected from this model, and it should be understood fully before agreeing to take on a project. In a world where we have an abundance of data, it's easy to be drowned.
It gets overwhelming.
Yeah, so too much information is useless. Redundant information is useless. So having it isn't necessarily the point of it.
How you manage it, how you define it.
Exactly. So defining it and sticking to the scope of the client requirements is the ultimate goal. Even if you think your client should have something else. So what are the sources of this data? So number one, for your geometric data, you'll have your 3D model, its components, its elements, and that's all in the software. Number two, you'll have your non-geometric information in schedules, specifications, classifications, and warranties. They can be calculated in the software and externally. And number three, you have project management documents, which are user-defined in the software and sourced externally. Number four, you have your LOD and LOIN detailed models, photographs, animations, which are user-defined in your model, or they can be sourced externally. And number five, you have quantity documents like unit pricing and labor pricing per item. And those are all found externally. So you may note that there is a growing reliance on external data, which is queried within your BIM 3D model using codes like GUID or classification codes. And this helps you create a snapshot of the full project plan that can be continuously updated and used to visualize throughout the project lifecycle. The one source of truth is actually many cross-referenced facts in one place. So how do we visualize within Revit? In Revit, we're using parameters to associate all this data to the relevant components and the elements in the project model. These parameters ensure that the data stays associated to that component even when it's exported into different file formats or as it moves through different phases of the design. These formats can include IFC, NWC, Excel, and quite a few others that are coming through nowadays, because those can all form models, as I spoke about at the beginning. It may be required at different phases to export the different file types so that the data can be read and used in different programs or to inform documentation needed for the build to continue. The protocol that we recommend based on experience with companies starting out in the space, as clients are requesting it more and more, is to, number one, read and understand the BEP and the proposed workflows for collaboration. This informs your project setup and the amount of admin you need to account for during the project. Number two, you need to understand what information is needed in this particular project. It informs what data you'll include and what you can remove and ignore. And if you need to learn up on it, you need to do that then. And number three, dedicate a person to coordinating the models that you produce. Checking that the models are showing and maintaining the different kinds of data is going to save you so much in the long run. They can do regular cleanups and we can make sure the proprietary data is correct. Number four is to also dedicate a person to managing the coordination efforts between teams. In smaller projects, this can be the same person, but for larger projects, we recommend having two people. They'll keep ahead of project changes and external data. Number 5, create the parameters or attributes in the model as soon as possible. This reduces the risk that information is left out, and it also allows the information to inform ongoing design. For example, having your cost in your model as early as possible can tell you when you're going over budget, if your design's getting too complicated and is straying away from what your client needs. So if these initial steps are followed, it's relatively seamless to create data-rich models. From there, Ali.
All right, now that we understand what exactly data is in BIM, how we extract it and how we manage it, we are now going to move into the industry shift. So the evolution of BIM from data management to now what we consider project intelligence. So the evolution of BIM. BIM started out as a model tool and it's now evolved into a collaborative coordination and is entering a data-driven assisted era. So when we look at our evolution timeline, when each stage adds complexity, but also opportunity. So during the 2015 to 2020 era, data basically focused on geometry. It was geometry-driven, coordination-focused. And then in the 2020 to 2024, it was more about the analytics, having a common data platform. And also data started flowing now into analytical systems, and it became much more measurable for insight. And then now moving forward to 2025 and going forth, it's now becoming an intelligence and prediction workflow. It's about workflow automation, from the tools that analyze the data to the agents that act on the project data. So now we are beginning to use it as a risk detection across our projects. So now why exactly are BIM workflows changing? BIM workflows are changing because of these three factors: the data volumes, the project complexity, and also because of AI technology. Now, all these three work together in tandem, so they influence each other. So when the data volumes increase, so does the project complexity. And also when technology also increases, technology increases to accommodate these two factors. So everything is working as a cycle. Now, more about that. So project complexity. Projects went from being just one story, two story, to now becoming multi-coordinated projects. The data volume now is increasing, where we're no longer working on single file models, we're working in coordinated multidisciplinary. And also with AI technology, the intelligence layer is increasing. So now let's talk more about traditional workflows. So the traditional BIM workflows, for instance, the coordination cycle, this was a checkpoint-based review process with a periodic visibility window. So the person would go from, once the model is updated, we now go into clash detection, and then coordination review, and then issue and alignment. Issue assignment and also issue resolution. So this process mainly waited for the weekly or quarterly meeting where we would address these issues that had been detected within the clash detection or coordination review process. And then also it was considered a sequential process because now each next step depended on the last step that was prior to it. So before we could do clash detection, we had to wait for the models to be updated and for that to reflect within our common data environment. Once that had done, for a coordination meeting, we needed the clash detection that we had reviewed. And then only could we assign our issues. And then only once they'd been addressed can we resolve. And then this would be a cycle that would follow out up until the very next cycle.
There's a lot of people only trying to do it the day before you were supposed to review it.
Exactly. Comes up so often. Apologies for that. But now we're in an instance where we are shifting. So now this is an intelligence evolution. So now we're moving from traditional BIM to a more data-driven BIM where the data is connected. We have dashboard, we have chain visibility, and we have workflow monitoring. But now with the introduction of AI, agentic AI, this is enabling us to have continuous monitoring. We have AI-assisted analysis and early risk detection. So this is more of a proactive coordination rather than reactive. Because now when we have these live agents within our workspace, they can flag these issues for us in real time. So now we're we no longer have to wait for the weekly or quarterly meeting to address these issues. Once it's flagged in real time, we can address it immediately.
Finish your design in that space.
Do you see? So now what this does is it's now helping us manage our impact delays. It's helping us manage our cost delays. So now this means that once we are proactive and are attending to these risks and issues early, then we no longer have to accommodate our project timelines to, for all these delays that can only be addressed after the fact.
Space at one time.
I'm taking too fast. So now let's talk a bit more about AI-enabled BIM workflows. So as Erica elaborated in her slides or presentation, our project data inputs are the BIM models, right? The BIM models where we have revisions, we have model health queries, and then we have our clash data as well, where we talk about the trends, the volume, and the ages of the clashes that we are conducting from our analysis. And then once that's done, only then can we issue out issues and RFIs and have the status of the issues. And then also the packages that we share amongst our coordination team. This helps us detect the data for revisions and delays. So now with the AI monitoring layer that I talked about in the previous slide, we have this continuous monitoring, pattern recognition, and risk clarification. So now we can detect patterns, we can dictate surface anomalies, and we can also prioritize risks. And like I said, if this is live, this is happening in real time. So there isn't a waiting period. This isn't a human layer that you have to wait to go and assign all these things. And what this does is it gives us risk alerts in real time, right? So early flags, early signals. And what we do with that data is now we turn it into dashboards where we can monitor the project in real time on a screen. Any screen, and you can query live. It updates live. So if I go into the dashboard today, it's going to tell me this was last updated at this current time, and this is the data that it's reflecting right now. And what we can do is we use that for coordination. So it's more of a proactive response, and it creates visibility. And what this visibility does is it assists us with delivery insight.
And visualizing the progress throughout as well.
Do you see? So now, what does this mean for the industry, and how are we at Modena using this data and this workflow that is now shifting from just being reactive and data-driven? Because now we are combining the data insights, and we're also, collaborating with the AI.
In the real-time workflow,
Yeah. So now, the future of BIM and our approach to this. So we are introducing the Modena IQ Hub. So this is our solution for real-time BIM intelligence. It centralizes the project data, it integrates AI insights, and it makes the project intelligence now accessible to all stakeholders. So when you have access to Modena IQ, what you can do is you can query your data in real time. This is interactive. You can check, for instance, our RFIs, all of you. You have all your open RFIs. It gives you a list. You can go into the project risk register. It shows you exactly what is at risk and what is going to delay and how it's going to delay it, whether it's via time or cost impact.
You can have your model on one screen and you can have the dashboard on the other screen and make sure that you're coordinating in real time.
You can even have this live on the dashboard continuously going on. So when you walk into the dashboard, you can see what's going on. You can even use your cell phone. You can even use your cell phone in the morning. First thing, when you're driving to a meeting, you check your Modena IQ, and it gives you a risk legend of, okay, this particular contractor is not keeping up to date. This particular RFI has been delayed for how long? This particular clash has not been addressed. So this is our solution, and this is how we are using the insights that we've learned from data, from years of BIM management, from AI intelligence and the ever-evolving technology. This is how we are now centralizing that intelligence and turning it into more of risk management.
Well, definitely putting an emphasis on risk management so you can monitor the spikes as
it happens.
You can deal with it.
So now, what does this mean for BIM projects? What does Modena IQ mean for BIM projects? It means, as I've been reiterating throughout our presentation, it means earlier risk detection. It means better project visibility. It means faster coordination responses and more proactive delivery management. So essentially, like you said, this is a risk management process. So it means better quality data, better quality coordination, and better quality project delivery, because now we are managing it in real time and we're able to maybe stick more accurately or more closely to our project timelines, to our delivery timelines.
Keeping it accurate.
So to summarize, the industry shift is clear, right? Integrate AI, centralize data, and enable intelligent workflows. The future of BIM is collaborative, it's predictive, and it is insight-driven.
So in final, what we have here is a infographic, an image that's actually showing the AI use per industry versus the AI available products per industry. So the blue is showing what is available and what can be harnessed, and the red is showing what is actually being used. So we can see in architecture and engineering, there's next to nothing, and in construction, there's less than nothing being used, and we need to start. But there's so much available. So we need to start looking at that and how that can inform our common data environments and prevent risk throughout our projects.
I think it's very interesting looking at this infographic, how AI is being used across the industries. So we have it very high in business and finance, computer and maths, legal. But when you look at the construction and the architecture and engineering, where it would be most valuable, because just like any other industry, our industry is about standards, about governance. So if we're going to use that, I think it's important to, especially since we're constantly chasing deadlines, you know, project timelines, we could use that, because AI is not about replacing the human layer. It's about working in tandem with the human and the AI to deliver faster, to deliver better.
Easier, faster,
so AI it basically automates most of
to a
our
degree.
projects.
I think in our industry that would be the best use for it, is to automate a lot of those
tedious
time-consuming tasks. And if we can bring that into this environment and help look at the information that we have as well, I think that's very beneficial.
And still have that human layer that not only interrogates the outputs of the AI, but also manages the risk that might come with all these AI agentic agents.
Forming your design with what's
see
coming through with that. I think that's great. And also, if we look at this, I mean, most of the use is with our clients. So they know it, but we're not using it.
Okay, just to cut you off a little bit there, we are going to have a CPD check-in. So if you've been attending this presentation and you'd like to get CPD points, you can just scan the QR code over there. We'll give it about 5 minutes.
Yeah, we'll keep it open for a little while.
And our next slide, we are going to be taking Q&A or maybe input. Anyone has their own perspective.
Going through the chat.
There we go.
What determines the scale of a project or number of people allocated to work on it? That depends on the amount of information that you need to produce in your project, I would say.
I think, like Erica established earlier on, there's a lot of data that we can extract from our models, our processes, but it also depends on the type of project that we're delivering and the kind of data that it needs. So it's about managing, because you don't need to use all that data. You need to filter out what is not necessary. And then only then, when you get insight from that, can you now determine the number of people that need to be put. Because if I have a 13th floor building, right? But I'm just redesigning the windows for that renovation.
Exactly.
I'm not going to need a full team of people. I'm going to need someone who's going to manage the renovations, removal, right? The cost of the removal, the cost of what we're going to do with the windows that we've removed, and also cost for the new windows and labor for that. So it's quite different from like the scale of a whole entire project.
Yeah, if you have to do something from scratch, you have to do the whole building, you're going to need a bigger team. And if your client says, no, I just want these layouts done, you probably don't need to have 2 BIM coordinators and managers for that kind of work. But if you need to deliver a full digital model, then you probably do. That's coordinated with other teams. Also, if you're the only team member, it might not be as necessary either.
Okay, while we're still waiting for open questions, what would you say has been most exciting about working with the data, like BIM data, especially within, because you're more on the interior design side of things?
Oh, the amount of detail you can go into is insane. So I do love the details because of the interior perspective, and being able to do the facilities management in one space. So when we find out that you have a tower block, because we come in once it's built, you say, okay, it's built and here's your space, and we want to be able to control all the chairs and tables, and we want to know where the rugs are, and we want to tag all the doorknobs so we can replace them. Going into a model and being able to interpret all of that and assign that data and then play with it afterwards. That's been the most exciting part for me. But I think AI is definitely going to make that a lot easier to deal with. It's a lot less time consuming. And you?
Hold on, I just want to move the screen to that Q&A section. You guys can use this QR code to give us feedback or ask for more information. I actually wanted to have a follow-up. I had a follow-up question for you in terms of the data. How we can use the data that you tend to, because I remember I had this talk a while back where you use the data that you extract from your Kirby and then you automate that into sort of like manufacturing schedules or procurement schedules.
Yeah, so the Kirby is a separate deliverable on its own. So it's the construction operations building information exchange. So what the Kirby does in Revit, which we've been able to automate, is it goes through the entire model and it takes all of the components that can be maintained, and we can put it into an Excel document and attach timelines, warranty documents, and construction information to that. And we can bring that back and forth. So we can bring that information back into Revit so it associates to that exact model.
Oh, okay, yes,
which
yes,
is quite cool.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so you can literally open your Revit model, you can click on the table and it'll have where it is in the construction, where you bought it, what the warranty is. If you have to replace it, this is where you're going to find the links for it, and things like that.
Great. We have a couple of questions. Is there no other means besides scanning to record for CPD points? We'll get back to you on that. We just need to.
If you share your information in the chat, I'm sure we can still claim those points for you.
Okay, hold on. So the second question, when does it become a need to have a BIM coordinator and BIM manager in a company?
I would say as soon as you have a digital deliverable and you're working with multiple disciplines.
I would say, let me just control the mic for a minute. I would say for BIM maturity, it is essential to have a BIM coordinator or a BIM manager, or not even the service itself, but have documents structured for you by BIM managers, BIM coordinators, because this is about governance. This is about
there are standards available. So there's ISO 19650, which will inform how that can all operate. So if you don't want to have a specific BIM coordinator, you still need to refer to
which we do offer that service where we come in. We actually we'll ask our managed marketing team to put the information down here in the presentation. We actually do have a website where you can check the BIM maturity level of your company and then also insights on how to follow through with that. But it is, if we're in a digital era, we are now in a sort of paperless era. So a lot of workflows are being done online digitally. And in that sense, it is important to have a BIM coordinator or BIM manager to assist with that process, because one thing about most of the companies that we work with, they are specialists in that industry, but when it comes to the digital sense of working in the CDE, they need some assistance, and we provide that either as a once-off service where we do the documentation for you and give training so that you can have your own in-house BIM coordinator or manager, or we also offer the service of having us come in as BIM coordinators. And then number 2,
so you can focus on your design.
How are you embedding this discussion in the infra reforms currently underway and the national infrastructure dialogue?
How are we embedding this discussion? Any infra reforms.
Okay, I have a question. I have an answer for that. So basically, we are Modena AEC and infrastructure. So we do have an infrastructure section, and the Modena IQ hub that we are working on and piloting, we have a sector to infrastructure for that, where the same data that Eric was actually talking about, we use the data from the BIM model that we've created or that's existing, an existing building. We create digital twin.
Yeah.
And what it does is, because we have all the data from all the infinite details from that model, we can say now, okay, this building was built in 2022. So now within the next 3 months, because now we have the data of who manufactured the doorknobs, when it was installed, how it was, we have the upkeep data. We can say, okay, the lifespan now has decreased. Within about 3 months on this exact date, you might need to replace it. And that's how we are including this within our infrastructure dialogue.
So under the national infrastructure dialogue, I think there's also a shift where we need to document what we have, what all our assets are, in terms of which buildings we have, what's in the buildings, how we're going to use them going forward, and we need to make that data available for any further developments. So I think that's important to do.
That's where we come in now with the BIM data analysis. How does ACC and Modena IQ link together? So what we do is, because ACC has a data extraction tool, so what we do is we automate the data extraction straight from ACC. So it's a very secure pipeline straight from ACC into our own data lake, where we've put measures in place to measure the KPIs that would signify a healthy BIM process, BIM model, BIM deliverables. And then once that's done, it's automated into our Modena IQ. So it's a whole pipeline. It's very secure. We do have human layers that measure the data that's coming through and make sure that it's accurate, make sure that we calculate everything accordingly. And then only is it now piloted to Modena IQ Live. So only viable for buildings, not other. No.
It's viable for all kinds of information that you want to include. And like I was saying, there's the 3D model in the building isn't the only set of data that you're going to have. So you're going to have your spreadsheet, so you'll have your financial models, you'll have other models that can be part of this. And we can use this kind of information and structure it so that it can be usable for what you need.
Well, and also at the core focus of Modena IQ is stakeholder dashboards. So your entire portfolio of projects, what it does is it consolidates all the projects that's currently under a company, and it gives you a risk overview of every single project, or the highest at risk, and it alerts you of that. It alerts you of any cost implications, any time delays, all across your entire portfolio. So it's not just about the buildings in particular, but everything that is under your assets.
It's a visualization of the whole project.
Yes. Maybe do you think we should go back a little bit to that slide to just kind of show it? Okay, there we go. So as you can see, this is a stakeholder dashboard. So it shows you have 6 active projects, you have 19 risks, and you have 2 delayed projects. So it's not just about a building in particular, but your entire portfolio as a whole, where we measure anything that might compromise any project that you guys currently either working on, that's currently live, or any other infrastructure that you have a digital twin of. It can tell you, okay, there's a risk because these floors have not been replaced within the past 2 years, and
your pipework is out of date, and it's not as per your certificates that have been issued.
Yes,
we can also work with that kind of information.
Do we have any other questions? It looks like,
no, that's about it.
In gathering all this data, we become the data analyst. So because I talked about how now because I talked about how now we extract this data straight from ACC and then into our data lake, we have in-house data analysts that actually both have experience from industry and also experience as data analysts, data scientists, where they actually manage the data for that type of insights that we're looking at, and they gather that data, they query it, they visualize it, and they manage it in a sense where it becomes insightful for business impact, you know, so it's usable. Now it's not just data that's overflowing, that's just there. It becomes basically business intelligence.
And they can put it into context
as
that's needed. So your BIM coordinators might be filling that role. There may be someone else in the organization who can fulfill that role if they're managing multiple projects, like your program manager, if you're in a big enough company. But for the most part, your BIM coordinators and BIM managers are probably going to be taking that role.
Now, I think for the most part is the BIM manager, BIM coordinator is going to be accountable for making sure the data is there. Whereas
that environment,
is there so that the data that we do extract from these projects is there is something to work with, you know what I mean? But in that sense, we then become the data analyst because this is something that we've been working on, we've been researching, we've been upskilling on for the past couple of years. Are you going to do a presentation on Modena IQ soon? We can arrange that. We can arrange a Modena IQ presentation, a more in-depth one.
Going to see exactly how to implement it. I think that might be a good idea.
And also, because this is something that is still new, we're still growing. We currently have stakeholder dashboards, project dashboards for multidisciplinary projects where we have different disciplines working together. And we point out exactly who is delaying what. And then we also have model health dashboards or project work in progress dashboards where we look at the particular model file that the team is working on and we say, okay, now
you're getting too big, you need to start.
Exactly, you have too many warnings on this file, but we're also still looking for input from our clients and industry. What other dashboards would you like for us to automate for you? What other data would you like us to analyze and visualize?
That up for survey.
Yes. Oh, yes. We should actually do a survey.
We should do that.
And then we have another question. Can non-technical managers understand BIM processes?
Yes.
They do. They can, because what we do is, let's just go back to what we do is we do offer training. As we said, we do offer in-depth BIM training as a service here at Modena. You can structure it however you want. If you want it to be a workshop during the course of the week, or if you want it to be sort of like every day lunch and learn, and then we'll come in at specific times and do our lunch and learn where we start the entire process and talk about BIM execution plans. We talk about how to govern your project, how to set standards and roles, how to work in a common data environment.
So we can assist with that upskilling.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be a technical manager, but we can help them understand the data that's coming through and what they can do with it. Definitely. So is there a way to track coordination quality over time instead of reacting to issues?
Okay, yes. This is exactly what we were talking about now. It's no longer about being reactive. It is now about being proactive. And that's why we are using now these AI that ACC Autodesk is piloting, where now we use that data in real time. And this is where Modena IQ helps, because now it flags risks as they happen. So immediately once you publish a model, or immediately once you publish a model, there's an auto clash detection. That auto clash detection risk raises the risk or flags the risk immediately. And what that does now is, once it gets into our data lake and our Modena IQ, we are automating it so that it automatically sends an email to whoever the issue is assigned to. And that's how we are now reacting in real time to issues instead of. So what this does is it helps with coordination, because it sends out to the stakeholders, the team members, the project manager, the team as a whole.
Project manager can follow up as they need to in real time.
So this is what the live intelligence of our workflows and our approach as Modena to BIM coordination is what's improving the quality of coordination.
Right. What services help teams move from reactive coordination to proactive governance? So this is one of the services that can help with that. And modern services. So we do consulting. and we can come into your space and we can look at your workflows and we can look at what kind of data you're working with. So if you're in interiors, if you're in structures, if you're in MEP, and we can start building a framework that you can start using to become more proactive in your governance in that space.
I think I just want to check if we still have questions. Okay, and then we have another question. Can BIM data help predict coordination risks before clashes occur? Yes, once again, going back to the whole intelligence of the data that we're using. So because we store all this data from ACC into our own data list, what that allows us to do is to follow the trend over time. We look at a particular client, we look at the issues, the clashes, the RFA delays that happened prior, and we use that as a prediction measure to say, okay, this particular contractor usually clashes with structural, let's say electrical usually clashes with structural around this particular level or this stage of the project. So what we do now with that insight is we inform the team beforehand, like now moving into tender design, we want to be proactive about something that might possibly happen. And what we do is we come in and we give training now on how to best mitigate that before it even happens.
If we can detect the pattern as part of that. And that's what we're talking about, the watching risk spikes as well. So you can see as clashes go up and we can see what happened in the last few days that caused this, or what happened on this day that caused this. And we can react to that before it becomes a major issue.
Exactly. And then we use that insight as well throughout all our other projects. We'd say, okay, there's a clash that has been happening in these other projects. So now to mitigate that, let's give the team before we at the BIM execution stage
deal with this, and how can we
how do we mitigate that? Modena IQ Hub linked with Autodesk or independent? Modena IQ is an independent service. It's directly Modena IP, but however, we do take the data. So it's not that you would have to now input the data into our server or data lake independently. What we do is if you currently have an ACC account, the data is already there. The only job you have is to just make sure that your BIM coordinator, BIM manager is inputting the data that is needed. And then what we do is we go into the hub, we extract the data every night at 12 and we automate it into Modena IQ. So every night at 12, it's an automatic pipeline. ACC to Modena IQ. Do you have any more questions?
No,
we still do have.
We have 20 more minutes if you're interested.
Or maybe even comments. It doesn't necessarily have to be
happy to chat about it.
If you have comments, if you have insights.
Is there a pain point that's currently in your organization that you'd like to manage with something like this? Maybe we can talk about it a bit.
Seems like everybody's still happy. Or if you're not comfortable asking right now, we do have our QR code where you can give us feedback or ask for more information.
Yeah, I apologize for the distraction of the PowerPoint presentation.
Anyway, I think we've answered all the questions. Hey,
should we see if there's anything else in the chat? No?
Okay, so for any additional queries, you can reach out to Modena AEC on marketing@modena.co.za, especially those who are inquiring about the Modena IQ Hub, maybe if you want a quotation or you just have questions, you want to learn more about it. We will talk to marketing so that we can put together a presentation for Modena IQ just to give more information, more insight on exactly how it would work if you were a new client and we're onboarding you onto Modena IQ, or if you have security risks about your data, how we protect it, all of that. We'll talk to marketing to put that together. And then, yes, the session is recorded. We will be sending out the recording later on to everybody that has signed up for this webinar.
Email, yes. So have you ever worked on a project that has had the worst coordination?
I have. It's a funny story because It was an abroad project,
Mm.
right? So I think something that made me realize that like data and insights is very important is because it was such a like a simple detail. It was an issue where there was it's like a water closet, right?
Mhm.
Toilet. So because we tend to put our flushes on the right, that's what the team did.
Yeah.
But now the client, because they were abroad, the flushes are on the left. And mind you, this was multi-story hotel building,
So
and it wasn't just one
hundreds of
building.
flushes.
So it was a matter of now having to go in. Okay, we have a question. It was a matter of having to go in and correct all of that. And
One by one.
and I feel like if that had been implemented within the BEP stage and said, okay, the standard, this is the standard,
This is the standards we're working with, yes.
and this is the parameter we're going to put into our water closet families, that would have been addressed and it wouldn't have delayed, the project for like 3 days that it did. But we got it done. We have a question. Someone raised their hand.
Oh, no, they were clapping.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll give it a minute, but if there's nothing else.
If we have any questions, any insights.
Say if you also want to share stories there.
Thank you,
Okay,
Lucifer.
Appreciate it. Yeah, you can reach out to Modena anytime if you have any queries about this kind of topic as well. We're very open.
And we're available Monday to Friday. Monday to Friday, you can just
Someone
reach
has
out.
raised a hand.
Someone has raised a hand.
If you've raised your hand, can you please type a comment or question? I actually don't think I can address your hand.
Okay,
I think we can end it there. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I hope that you got some information out of this and it's been of good use. Please get in touch.
And please use the QR code to just give us insight or any feedback or any questions that you do have. And then, yes, thank you everyone for joining in on this webinar. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate all the questions, comments.
Yeah, we're very excited about this topic. Yeah, I just closed it.
Where can one learn about BIM and courses? So we do offer BIM training as a service. So like we said, you can just reach out to Modena, and then we can just reach out to Modena, and then we'll have one of our sales team contact you and provide a plan that is specific to you and your needs and your budget.
Yeah, you can have a look at the links in the chat. There should be one of them will go to the right place.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Keep tuned to the Modena LinkedIn, Modena website, and thanks for joining us once again.
Thank you.